When you hear about the sixth seal from the book of Revelation, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's pretty terrifying, world-ending stuff, right? But what if there's a completely different way to look at it? What if all those scary symbols aren't pointing to the future, but to a single powerful moment in the past? Let's dive in and explore that together. So here it is, straight from Revelation 6:12. A great earthquake. The sun goes pitch black. The moon turns to blood. I mean, this is powerful, dramatic language that has fueled end-of-the-world theories for centuries. But what if we've been missing the point? What if the real meaning is hidden inside the symbols themselves? And that really brings us to the big question we're tackling here. Are these literal signs we should be watching the skies for? Or are they a profound, symbolic description of an event that has already happened? The answer, honestly, might just change how you read prophecy forever. Okay, so let's open this seal together. We're going to try and decode the symbols inside, and it all really hinges on one central idea. And here it is. This is the big pivot. The idea here is that this entire verse isn't about some future apocalypse at all. It's actually a spiritual portrait of the moment Jesus died on the cross. Every single symbol, the earthquake, the sun, the moon, it all points back to that one afternoon at Golgotha. Let's start with that first dramatic event, the great earthquake. So what did this massive seismic shock truly represent? Well, if you flip over to the Gospel of Matthew, you find this incredible parallel. At the very moment Jesus died, the earth literally quaked. But Matthew's account makes it clear this was way more than just a physical event. It was a sign of something massive happening in the spiritual realm. You see, this wasn't just some random tremor. It was absolutely packed with meaning. The veil in the temple tearing from top to bottom, that showed God himself ripping away the separation between him and us. The quake itself was like creation groaning at its creator's death. And the rocks splitting apart, that's a symbol for how the truth of the cross would break even the hardest of hearts. The whole thing was a spiritual upheaval that shook the very foundations of reality. Okay, next up is that unforgettable image, the sun becoming black as sackcloth of hair. Now, to really get what this means, we first have to understand what sackcloth actually is. So sackcloth wasn't just any cloth. It was this dark, coarse, really itchy material made from black goat hair. It was uncomfortable, it was ugly, and it was the garment you wore when you were at your absolute lowest point, the total opposite of anything celebratory. And in the Bible, whenever you see it, it carries this heavy symbolic weight. It's the official uniform for deep mourning and grief. It's what you wear to show profound repentance and humility. And it's what prophets wore to call out sin and judgment. Simply put, it is the garment of sorrow. So how does this connect to the sun? Well, in this view, Jesus is often called the Son of Righteousness. And this verse tells us that on the cross, he who knew no sin became sin for us. He symbolically put on the garment of all of our collective sorrow, our shame, our sin. And this is where it all clicks into place. The sun turning dark represents Jesus, the light of the world, being covered in the sackcloth of our sin. And don't forget, the Gospels tell us that a literal darkness fell over the land during the crucifixion. This wasn't just a solar eclipse, it was a spiritual one. I mean, just look at this contrast. On one hand, he's described as being clothed in a garment of pure light. But on the cross, prophecy called him a man of sorrows, someone familiar with grief. He literally traded his garment of light for our garment of sackcloth. All right, let's tackle that final symbol, because it all builds on this, the moon turning to blood. Now, this might sound like the most graphic image of all, but its meaning, in this interpretation, is one of incredible hope. Think about it for a second. The moon has no light of its own, right? It only reflects the light of the sun. So in this symbolic language, the church, that is, the bride of Christ, is the moon, reflecting his light to the world. And how is that reflection made pure and clean? By being washed in the very blood of his sacrifice. This idea is just woven all through the New Testament. Christ gave himself up for the church to make it holy and clean. So the moon turning to blood isn't a sign of cosmic destruction. It's a sign of redemption. It's the sign of a people bought and purified by a loving sacrifice. So let's just do a quick recap of what we've decoded. The great earthquake symbolizes the massive spiritual upheaval at the cross. The sun turning black represents Jesus taking on the world's sin, and the moon turning to blood represents the church being washed clean by his sacrifice.
When you see it this way, it's not a prophecy of doom, but a beautiful portrait of atonement. Now, to really bring this whole thing home, let's look at one final, powerful contrast that just perfectly summarizes this entire narrative: the difference between sackcloth and linen.
This right here really puts it all into perspective. Sackcloth is the symbol of our broken state. It's grief, it's sin, it's mourning. But linen in the Bible is the complete opposite. It represents purity, righteousness, and the victory of the resurrection. This is the great exchange of the gospel.
And here's the detail that seals it. When Jesus died, he wasn't buried in the sackcloth of a defeated mourner. He was wrapped in clean linen. His death wasn't a hopeless end, it was a victorious offering. That linen was a sign that even though he bore all our sorrows, death had no final hold on him. This verse from Isaiah just captures the end result of that exchange perfectly. Because he wore our sackcloth, we get to wear his linen, the garments of salvation and the robe of righteousness. It's a total, complete reversal. So we're left with this final thought. What if we've been reading these verses as a threat, when they were always meant as a promise? A description not of a world ending in terror, but of a love so profound, so powerful, that it was willing to endure darkness, bear our sorrows, and shed its own blood, all to bring us into the light.